We'll go ahead and get our meeting going. I'll call the meeting to order. Jen, will you do roll call, please?
Tom McDonald,
Here.
Len Tucci,
Here.
Jennifer Finley. Here. Jim Molitor, Carol Langford, Terry Pitts, Bing Matt, Ellie Bundy, Mark Charlotte,
Present.
Mike Dolson,
I'm here.
James Senior.
All right. Thank you, Jen. Start today out with prayer. Carol, can I ask you to do a prayer, please?
Creator, today we just ask you to watch over us as we take care of the issues of our membership and the people. We ask you to watch over our elders and our children and keep them safe and strong. And we ask for a prayer for all the families who have recently lost loved ones, Blue Bordeaux and the many others that the Charlot family. I know there were others, Creator. Just keep them in your thoughts and your prayers and help them get through this tough time. And we also ask for just a prayer for the weather, the moisture, people that are traveling in this weather, and the state tournament or the tournaments that are going on. Just keep people safe and have them allow them to enjoy themselves and just take part. Komiate.
Well, you might have done this yesterday, but because I love to do this so much, I want to make sure that we sing happy birthday to Carol, even belated. All right, 54 again. Cool. Skip town, yeah. Dang it. Well, good for you. All right, we have our minutes from the 16th for your review.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Ellie.
Abby, on page 4, where it starts with Chairman McDonald, I think it says Tom will be giving a 10-minute speed, should be speech.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you. Abby, on the transition from page 5 to 6, it says they are 2 published documents. I believe that should be there are 2 published documents.
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve the minutes with corrections.
Motion by Len to approve the February 16th Tribal Council minutes with corrections. Second by Mike. Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous? All right, we have our agenda before you. I wanted to give just a trip update from yesterday, but I also wanted to follow up on the college memo. If there was any additions or corrections you wanted to add to that memo, because I'd love to get something out to them today. Okay, I did. I sent you last. I got a hard copy here if you want. Send it Thursday or something. I can't remember. But yeah, okay, pass it down that way. I can resend it to you if you want. Can't remember when I sent it out. Thursday? Well, it was the timing was that I know they're going to go on a little retreat, I think this week. So want to get something to the board if it's in line with what y'all were thinking. The other one was updates on our election committee selection. There's no date on it, no, because it's not. I would put the date on it when you guys say it's ready to send. Any other, do you have a walk-in still? No, good, thank you. Any other council items? Jen?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I went to a state tribal economic development meeting in Helena last Wednesday, and a couple interesting things that I wanted to bring up. So one of the ideas that we talked about, so there are representatives from every tribe who are part of this commission. And one of the things that we talked about to cross promote each other and things to do on our reservations for economic development was having so anybody could get like a passport. This is just an idea that we started talking about. And we would have to decide what we would want people to get a stamp from. So people like a tourist could get a passport and then they would get a stamp from like the bison range. And it might take them a year or two, maybe one, and the one from Crow might be Crow Fair or whatever. And then they would just go around, people could go around to every reservation and we would highlight a specific thing or two from each reservation that people could visit. And then people who complete all the tasks, basically see all the things, might be able to get a prize at the end from the Montana Tourism Department. So that's something that we talked about. And if we did do that, we would have to give approval as a council to approve if it's the bison range or the Arley powwow or whatever we decide, to have a stamp that has our seal on it. So then people could get that stamped off when they visit it. And another thing that we had a presentation about while we were there was about the apprenticeship program through the Montana Department of Labor. And I was really interested in that. And I want to find out more about it because they have apprenticeships for bison herding. They have apprenticeships for basically anything, elevator repair, carpentry. And it's a way that people who want to learn a trade can get credentialed without accumulating college debt. So then they have the credential, they get the training that's hands-on. And they said that if we were interested, there would be a possibility if we wanted to work with SKC to develop a curriculum, but then the work would be done with their on-the-job training.
on-the-job training, basically. And I just thought that sounded like a really good opportunity for us to learn more about is the apprenticeship program, to develop more apprenticeships. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's, on the job training apprenticeship is really good. Any other items? Agenda okay for today? Motion by Ellie, second by Len, approve today's agenda with additions. All those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous, I believe. Martin, there it is. Okay. Just quickly, so the Helena trip yesterday for me, I was at the end of the speeches from the congressional delegation. So, you know, it was unfortunate I get a chance to spend time with John. He was the first one up, and but I did get a lot of time with our local representatives. So I had a great chance to talk with Dan Bartel from Lewiston, who I haven't talked to in a long time, and covered a lot of ground with him, and Joe Reed and Greg Hertz, Dan Solomon. There was a few other folks there that I had a good chance to talk to. Joe Reed confirmed his hunting bill is dead. He's not bringing it forward at all. And the great thing that he offered was he was going to work on ways to get us funding, directly funding from the state for providing fencing for farmers and ranchers that would need livestock, animal, wildlife fencing, because we don't have that. We don't have a mechanism to get that funding. So he was going to work on a couple other solutions. I said, Joe, that's exactly what we'd love to hear. And thank you for working on that kind of thing. Those are the tools in the tool bag we need to exhaust before we go down the path that your bill was supposing to do. And although, Joe, your bill, we didn't need that. We already have that in our Cooperative Agreement Act to be able to do what your bill said. But anyway, he was a pretty positive guy yesterday. Yeah. But I did get a chance to, talk a little bit with Zinke, Danes, and I met Rosendale. Anyway, that's who I followed in the lecture series. So John Tester was up first, and then Senator Daines, Congressman Zinke, and then Congressman Rosendale. And I was pretty worried about that. Hopefully I didn't embarrass you too much, but I felt a little bit better following him, because when you follow him, I think even a rock might look good. Now, Abby, you can't put that in the minutes. So anyway, I think that it was difficult to provide a speech that when you're so outnumbered that what can you talk about to encourage them to do the right thing. So the speech was really focusing on not being exclusive, being inclusive, recognizing our differences and using that as a strength to go forward. So it was real general, and just that type of a positive message that maybe they would not vote down the Indigenous Peoples Day, any of those type of things in the future. So go ahead, Mike.
Well, I was just wondering if you had the transcript and we could put it in the minutes.
I don't know if you want to. They've done, I think there's been some, it's in the Missoulian today. They did some clips out of each one's speech if you want to read it. But I can share you the speech. I can forward it to you guys if you want to see it. Yeah. There was some ad-libbing by me, of course, within it. It was a collage of Ryan and I on the phone. He's picking my brain, and that was the basic outline. And then I think Shane added some stuff. He had the things about recognizing the Indian caucus and the individuals with their different bills that they're sponsoring, which is nice to give them kudos for at the meeting. So Shane was able to provide that in the heart of the speech, which was really good. And then I added more to it after I got it back from them. And that's basically the speech. But there was so many different things to talk about when you're in that room. And so I reflected right off the get-go. It wasn't in the speech. It was me remembering being in that room in 1967 on a school field trip and imagining being in this room and, the significance, the dignity of the room, and how a special place it was. So, was trying to bring back that high integrity, kind of, which is, it's such a contrary when you have someone like Matt talk before you, and it's so bipolar, it's so bipartisan, it's so them and us. And in order for the minority opinions to be heard, that's not the kind of dialogue you want. So anyway, I tried to do that in the speech. It was difficult. I had to wear a jacket first time I ever did that. Well, that was difficult. It made me extra hot, Carol, so I don't know. I mean, I heated up,
Were you the only tribal leader?
Yeah. So anyway, I think it went okay. We were going to have some meetings, but John left, so that didn't happen. We just did a couple of photo ops and met with a few other people on my way out. And that was it. I think it went okay. The memo, if you guys look at the college memo, we can get that out today or something. Some rendition would be good. Yeah, Jennifer can look at it, but just by the end of the day, if you all give me the thumbs up, I'll do edits and send it off. Yeah, no problem, Carol. So the election committee, would you guys have a discussion on that? Okay. Any thoughts? Glenn?
I believe it was the consensus yesterday to go with 5 at-large tribal members.
Okay, Jen?
Just wanted to say I wasn't here yesterday because I had an NCAI meeting that lasted all day. I thought it was just gonna be a few hours, but it was all day.
All day, wow.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
An all-day Zoom meeting.
So you guys talked about 5 citizens selected at large, along with the attorney from legal department. So it'd be 6. And no council representatives. Go ahead. Carol? You guys are real close.
Actually, you're my elder, Carol. No, Carol had recommended having at least one council person, and I had a little problem with that. I think that if we had just one council person, they'd end up with fingers pointing at them in a lot of different ways. My recommendation is stick with the 5 council that are not up for election, the attorney, and maybe add a citizen or 2.
Carol?
I just wanted to say that, the attorney wouldn't be a part of the board, the election board. It would be just an advisor, legal advisor.
That was, I thought it would be, it'd be one person that would be in a legal advisor. That's what I was
Yeah, I
thinking.
just want to make that clear. I don't think
That they would vote?
They wouldn't vote. They would
No,
just be
but they would,
advisor.
yeah,
like
they
we
provide
have
the legal
now.
context of constitution, voting, all of our policy. We gave them the heads up there to try to figure it out.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Martin.
And that's the awkward part with the other 5 is we're voting on our own election, but I thought that keeping the 5 on council involved was important. And then maybe, like, I guess I agree with Mike. I'll leave it at that. Because the thing that we learned with last election was that there are a lot of things that go on behind closed doors that only council know about. And we really need that involvement to make sure that we don't overreact or we don't do things that could incite litigation against council or against the tribes or things like that, that are only privy to council members or events that happen around them. So I think that just leaving it as is right now for this year, we made enough changes last time. Thank you.
Martin, you kind of came in a little broken up. So could you repeat it again? Or do you have a different mic?
Hold on. I'm just on my iPad, so let me see what I can do. Tom, can you hear me any better?
Well, go ahead and try, Martin.
Okay. I'll try to do it even faster this time, but how's that sound, or is that working at all?
We still got a bit of an echo, so if you go slow, it might be okay.
Okay. So I just think that leaving the 5 on council this year is important, or this election, because we made a lot of changes the last time around as a council. I think that the one addition that we could really do would be to add a tribal member, and just have them be, even if this year is just kind of a dry run to see what we would do with them. But yeah, I think keeping the 5 on council for sure is what I would be voting for. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. Any others? Go ahead, Bing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I didn't know if I should say anything or not, but I kind of agreed with Mike yesterday about keeping the 5 council members on here, and because we've changed so much with the election committees and election itself, we've changed it so much. I like to just leave it as it is and have your council members here, along with Dan, I guess, and then let them do what they usually do. Everybody knows what's going on with the election, and it's not everybody like Mike and we did last year. The last time around, we had Mike there, and he was kind of our legal advisor, I guess you could say, and kept things going. But now you got Carol wants Dan down here, you got a legal advisor to direct you. So I don't see why we'd need other people to help out with it when you already got 14 other people that's here sitting there doing your ballots and whatnot. I don't see why we need these other people. So that's what I thought about it yesterday.
Thank you, Bing. Anybody else? Carol?
Yeah, to me, this is nothing more, and it's been this way for ever, it's the appearance that the other five are tainted, I guess. I don't know if that's the word to use, but, and I see that people just want it, and not all people, they just want it more independent of the governing body, which it can go either way. I mean, if you keep it the way it is, it's fine. We've been chewed out before, but then if we don't, if we do consider the other way, you know, that's fine too. I mean, some people will be very happy about that, but I don't think I think it makes a difference, but it's more about appearance and, not that we aren't fair, but some people think it's tainted when you have the other five who are good friends with the other five. That's basically my take on it. And so I think whatever we decide to do, I have no problem being that on the board. I was reluctant, but I also think if we add some like 3 people from the outside, make it uneven. That's 3 wouldn't make it uneven and make it even, but you know, maybe 2 or 3, just so there's some more view from the outside, I think would be helpful.
Thank you, Carol. Yeah, if you do add more to the 5, it's got to be, that's a good point. It has to be an uneven number. So we can't just do 1 additional citizen selection to be added to the 5 sitting council members. It would have to be at least 2 citizens. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Thank you, Chairman. I really would like to see some, the opportunity for tribal member involvement for the sake of transparency. And I've said this before, and I don't want to make people feel bad, but there were some really glaring mistakes that happened in the last election with the dates and some of the mailings that went out, that on the outside, it was infuriating and confusing, and it raised a lot of questions. And I think that if tribal members were involved in the process, I think there would be, if more eyes were looking at it, it wouldn't be such a mysterious process. It would be clear what's going on, how it's going on, that I think the membership would be more reassured of fairness if some people who wanted to be involved could be.
Thank you, Jennifer. Go ahead, Ellie.
I support keeping the 5 tribal council members with 2 community members just for the transparency piece of it.
Any other comments? Terry?
Thank you. The way it used to run was have the 5 council, so I'm not totally up with the issues. It would seem though, if you went to the community, you definitely want to make sure that you had an opportunity, 1 from the north and 1 from the south. Because if they both come from one area, that might be an issue too. And with 5 and 2, it should be an odd number.
Step into it any way you go, huh? No good deed goes unpunished. All right. Okay, that's I don't have any problem, with keeping it the same way it's always been. I do believe that we need to make sure that we have a non-voting legal advisor, and having it be the department head would be even better. So having people observe, be privy to the information that aren't on council does eliminate that potential conflict of interest or any of that type of, comments that it's rigged or it's this or that. So having tribal member citizens observe or be part of it, maybe they don't have to be voting, just having witnesses is a critical thing. So you know, I don't really care how many that is, other than if there's any confidential information, they need to make sure that they're not putting us in a bad position. So there's some edification for any selection of a citizen to the election committee. The issue of one area being overrepresented over another area is worthy of a lot of thought. You could look for our elders to step up, and we could ask them to provide a representative as to observe the election process and the election committee, and have them identify one person, one from the Salish Clispe Elder Committee and one from the Kootenai Elder Committee, and let them decide who it is. Then they could come in. We'd say they're a non-voting member, but they can observe. Is that an alternative? Hmm? Anyway, you can think about it a little bit more and talk about it again at the end of the day, but we need to probably get this identified, you know, even this week if we could. Sooner the better. With that, we'll move on to our agenda. So we'll have Scott. Scott's been entertained here. Come on up, Scott.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the council.
Good morning.
Scott Johnston, Roads Program Manager. I had brought to you today the request for non-competitive negotiations to enter into with DJ&A. We had had a 3-year contract with them that we had extended in the past, and that has expired, and we did up to, like, I think it was 22 or 23 projects with them in those between the safety of dams and the roads program. And out of those, we've had 1, 2, 3, about 5 projects that have been delayed for one reason or the other, and that was either right-of-way, environmental, or getting easements for from the BIA. What else? And I guess also the getting some roads officially in the inventory before they can get move forward any further. At this time, all those projects that I listed in the memo are ready to move forward. Those projects are in Elmo, Indian Avenue, Albert Lane, the one south of Skookum on the west side, and then Dixon Agency home sites. We had that project we had a public meeting on, and that's at 75 to 90% design. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Carol.
I was just curious, were the street lights in or out?
At this time, they're not in there, but we can definitely look at that.
Yeah, I would hope, because we've at other public meetings with Anita, the public talked, and Martin talked about having the lights on, because right now it's just so dark and it just seems to be a good place to fester a lot of negative. But if you could get the lighting in without them shooting it out, it would be helpful. And I talked to Mission Valley Power when Mr. Matt was there, and he said that he could work through that. So I don't know if it's still the case. So maybe we can, I don't know, maybe council's not interested in lights, but I think it's a good idea. So maybe, Mr. Chair, we need to find out from council if that's the case.
Yeah, thank you, Carol, for bringing that up. You know, I think our consensus before was, given that particular community, that aerial lighting, additional lighting was a safety improvement, given the consideration of that community and trying to reinvest and make it a safe community. It's hard to do things in the light that you do in the dark. So it's not necessarily traffic issues. It's human safety, household safety, et cetera. So consensus of the council that Dixon Agency should have aerial lighting.
Okay, so Scott, how do we make sure that that's a part of it? And I hope it doesn't delay the project, because I thought it was supposed to start last year,
Yeah.
last fall.
We plan on doing it in 2 phases.
Yeah.
So at least one of the phases, we can get that into, I believe we can work that into the design. And
Okay.
keep it considered in the phase 1 and see if we can get it in as soon as possible, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think as soon as possible is critical. I just think it just needs to be a part of the project, because it would fit really well, so.
Okay.
Thank you. I know it's a change, but, I think it's just really, like Tom Sherman said, it's critical to that community.
All right.
Scott, there was also, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but NRD through Mary Rose and others have an extension for additional facilities on the southern end of Dixon Agency.
Yes, I did see all that, and I was involved in a little bit of that review.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there is some other areas in that concept design that might need aerial lighting, like over the playground area, maybe over the garden.
Okay.
So that would be also a consideration. I know your work probably doesn't go that far south. No. Okay. But in planning for the lighting, please look at that, would you? Thank you.
Okay.
Any questions for Scott? Go ahead, Lynn.
And these are non-related.
Okay.
So where are we specifically with the walking track between Big Arm and Elmo?
We're still putting together a matrix of all the paths to review priorities, and then we have it ready to submit again for the next funding opportunity that comes along for that.
Okay, so the path is already surveyed out?
No, it's, well, a tentative path it's a proposal for a scope of work for it. Once we get funding for it, then we can define the exact path, but it's generally defined.
Okay, so
No survey has been done.
in regards to funding, isn't that something you would able to include in your budget for next year?
Yeah, we can include it in the budget for next year. I'm still putting together the proposed tribal transportation improvement plan, the TIP, to meet with the transportation committee on, and that will be within the next 2 months, I believe.
Okay, and if you could keep us apprised of that meeting, I would like to attend that meeting.
Okay.
And then also another issue, Scott, north of Elmo in the subdivision, there is a BIA road system that traverses north, and it goes through some of those fee parcels up there. That is a BIA road that has an easement to the tribe that the community has historically used in the past to access Chief Cliff and the Big Meadow area. Every time I drive by there, I notice that there's new houses that are going up there, and some of these ownerships have starting to fence their ownership, and which include that particular road. I think that we need to contact them landowners, let them know that there is an easement there granted to the tribes, and we are going to continue to use it. So they can be aware, at least they can start putting.
Can you get with me after this or sometime and make sure I know exactly which roads you're talking about.
Okay,
Thank you.
but yeah, I just wanted to bring that to your attention, so we do not allow these, new owners to, affect our easements. Our
Right.
rights of ways. And I'll meet with you later about it, Scott.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Any questions for the non-competitive contract proposal?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Len to approve the roads to enter a non-competitive negotiations contract with DJ and APC of Missoula. Second by Ellie. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Martin, are you voting? Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Scott.
He's got. The Dixon topic, just offhand, reminded me of Sonny Boy had wanted to explore the potential of renaming Dixon Jocko City, which was one of its like earlier terms.
Jocko City?
Jocko City. I believe so. That's what he came up with. Yeah. So, yeah. To because of the because of who it is named after. We called it. We had their. Yeah, there's other names. The confluence of the Jocko and the river.
Yeah.
Chinchlet. I can't remember what it is. And then there's the plum, because the native plums that are there.
Yeah.
It's another name. But I think the interesting thing would be is for any name change for the town of Dixon, it would require this governing body to make a recommendation to the National Geographic or the Board of Names to have that go forward if they would even consider it. So if council is simply interested in changing the name of the town of Dixon through the process, then we could probably work on that with Sonny Boy. Consensus? Okay. All right. Thank you. That just reminded me of that. Thanks, Scott. All right, Miranda.
Good morning, Council. So this morning, you guys have Mike Perry, our lead superintendent, here to report on his Indian Ed report.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Council. It seems like I was just here a couple months ago.
Well, you were.
And I'm very excited, obviously, to discuss the outcome of our previous meeting. Obviously, we have passed both of our bonds. So very excited. And it's my first building project, so the whole bond market, I wasn't aware of that, but we 2 weeks ago sold our $6 million worth of general obligation bonds and made $630,000 in premiums. So that's another $630,000 towards the project. So very, very exciting news for us.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Obviously, as I spoke about when I was here discussing the bonds, the children deserve it. And so I guess just to give you a quick update before we get into that, just timeline, we're looking at hopefully opening the new school the fall of 2025. So as we go through this, we're hoping to break ground in February. So excited to, as things progress, I'll make sure that I let the tribal council know we'd love to have all of you, if possible, come down and join us in the celebration as we embark on this project. So one point on this report I'd like to bring out was in reference to Councilwoman Langford's question when I was here earlier about the bonds, was the number specifically of CSKT students. So we have that in our report for you so that you'll know exactly how we have, so. You can see, obviously, our report. You know, I take celebration in the improvements that we've had, but as you go through the report and as we go through the report, we also see we have a lot of work to do. What's exciting though is that as we've been bringing on new staff, both in the administration and our teaching staff, I've seen a definite increase in energy and focus. I'd have to bring up the report. If you would look at page 11. So do they see it? Okay, sorry. So as you see page 11, these are our Smarter Balance results, our test scores on the state test score. So we've broken them out obviously by our Native American students and our non-Native. And as I said, we have a lot of work to do. Post-pandemic, I'm sure that you've heard from many schools and nationwide that we've obviously have seen a decrease in scores. I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people have discussed. And I think a lot of that goes to the fact that here in Montana, I think we had our students in school probably a lot more than other states possibly. And I think that I'm going to brag a little bit. I think that rural Montana teachers are extremely good at adapting to different situations. And so when we had to go to remote, I think our teachers did a great job and our schools overall did a great job at making sure that we did our best to reach out to our students. You can see that our language arts and our math scores there. I can tell you that our focus this year, in particular in our Lee schools, has all been on literacy and our language arts. We see that and we believe that literacy is going to make the biggest impact for our students across the board. We truly believe that those math scores will start to come up as our literacy increases. We've noticed that a lot in our math. You know, most of the math testing isn't just facts and figures, it's reading the story problems. And we've discovered that that's where we tend to fall down, is that we're not, if you can't read well, you don't understand the story problem, obviously the math doesn't make sense. So we've got new curriculum in. We've hired some outside consultants to come in and work with our staff, particularly on literacy. And our focus as we head into next year, our focus is really going to be on our K-3 students. I'm sure that most of you have read studies and heard, but the real drive is to get students to grade level by grade 3. I can tell you that this year, this is 25 years in education for me, and I have never seen our kindergarten students as low as I have seen them this year. And again, I'm going to attribute that to the pandemic. I guess we can pick whatever we want, but I really think that that had an impact, especially on those younger kids. And I believe that if we focus K-3 on that, I think I've said it before, but I will tell you that, again, after 25 years, our teachers in our Lee, especially grades K1 and 2, I'd put up against any teacher anywhere. I'd encourage you, if you want to see some amazing teaching going on, come down to our kindergarten and our first grade classrooms in our Lee. You will be absolutely blown away by what these teachers are accomplishing and taking these students from coming in where they are and doing incredible things with them. But because we're starting so far behind, we've got to really increase our focus K-3 to get them up to where they need to be.
Carol?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that You know, I also think the impact of ECS not being a part of the pandemic too, and the kids not being in the classroom there, probably created a lot of that. And I think that ECS does a lot for those kids, because I've had one recently go through that program from 0 to 3, and then the next step, and then into kindergarten, now in first grade. And I tell you, there's been a lot of improvement on that little guy. And so, yeah, I just think ECS being out of commission during the pandemic too had a lot to do with it.
Well, and I totally agree with Councilwoman Langford and her comment, and the fact that our state is one of the few states that does not fund pre-kindergarten. It absolutely does not make any sense to me whatsoever for anybody to talk about our scores, you know, compared nationwide, and not realize that we're missing an opportunity by funding our early childhood education, which is where, in my opinion, the biggest impact comes. If those kids were at level when they came in at kindergarten, how much further they'd be along. So I absolutely agree with you.
Jennifer?
So when you're talking about the research and students not reading at grade level by third grade, is it true that generally speaking, if a student does not read at if a student does not read at grade level by third grade, that they never will? Is that true?
I think in the past, yes, Councilwoman Finley, that has been true. What typically happens is if they're not on grade level by 3, that's when we start identifying students, and they end up on IEPs, getting pulled out of class, become more and more frustrated. If you think about a 5th grade student sitting in a classroom, they're not understanding what's going on. Typically, by the time they hit 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, those are the kids that are dropping out. And that's one of the things why we concentrate so much on K1, 2, and 3, is that we're making sure that we're trying to do everything that we can, that by grade level 3, they're on point. And we do that by pullouts in small groups. We do that by our title programs. We do that by small group instruction. And so that we're trying to get those kids before they get to the point where they're identified for special ed.
Yeah, and how successful has that been? I mean, these numbers are, I mean, this is a travesty that so few students read are proficient and above.
And
That's
I
a lot
agree.
of students that are being handicapped.
I agree. And one of the things that we're currently working on, last year we were missing a position. This year we've rehired that, and that person's sole purpose right now is working on trying to align our test results. I'd love to have a discussion sometime about what I feel about smarter balanced results in our national testing. But what we're trying to do is that, and I will follow this up, and I will send you a copy of the other testing that we do. We use NWEA. So we use another testing system that we think gives us much more in-depth results about each student so that we know where they're at versus the smarter balanced results. We're trying to tie them together. Unfortunately, because the tests are so different, they don't tie very closely. And so, yes, these numbers don't look great, but our local test results show much better growth than what our smarter balanced results are showing. But as I said, we have a lot of work to do. When you see the numbers of novice and nearing proficiency, if you look at overall, we're way behind.
I know I have been driving one of my granddaughters to Pablo Elementary every day for going on 3 years now. And she's one of the best readers that I've encountered with any of my children. Pablo program is, whatever they do here is a wonderful program. But yeah, I couldn't imagine. I've seen, you know, in my own family, when a person can't read well, it is such a handicap and for all their learning. So to have that, you know, be a proficient reader by 3rd grade is, I would concur, is absolutely very, very critical and absolutely a necessity. So If there's anything you can learn from Pablo, hopefully that's there to share. But I do that every day because it far excels the Ronian reading program. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Perry, how come you didn't include your local test results?
Like I said, currently what we're doing was trying to tie them together. And so we've missed a year of having someone in charge of that. So that's actually what we're doing right now, is putting those together. We test 3 times a year, fall, winter, and spring. And so right now, that's actually what she is doing, is putting those tests together.
And then another question, I'd love to have you describe your Indian Education for All program.
So I would say that our program is, I hesitate to say this, much more robust in the district that I am now than where I have possibly previously been. And that's due to the staff that we have. So we have in our K2 program, we actually have a teacher dedicated to our teaching of Salish. We also have a teacher dedicated K6 that does our Indian Studies program. So K6, we're doing really great. 7-12, I think that we have a very committed staff to bringing our Indian Ed for All into every classroom. It's one of the few districts that I've been in where our teachers find a way to bring that into every classroom rather than just certain classrooms. One of our things that unfortunately I think we're missing this year is a cultural aspect of our music program. Currently in Arlee, we don't have a music program. We lost that last year. We lost our instructor, and this year we don't have one. And so unfortunately, I think that music is one of the best ways, or an additional way that we can bring in the cultural aspect of Native American culture, and we don't have that this year. Other than our K2 program, we have an amazing teacher, Kayla Dix, that is in our K2 building, and that's what she does. She does our Salish. She also does music with those kids, K2. So like I said, K6, I think that we can compete with anybody and how we're doing for our Indian Education for All. 7-12, we're still working on aspects. But we have a very committed staff. And so a lot of those staff have been there for a number of years. And our new staff are very committed to being involved in making sure that that's brought into every single classroom. And so I think that we will see a definite increase in how our Indian Ed for All program is working in our 7-12 as we move forward. One thing that I was hoping to bring up to council that we just got, and I apologize, it's not in our in what we're doing, but we're involved with the University of Montana in what we call it Project SELA. And so far it's been in our grades 3 through 6. And it's been terrific as far as they are coming in and involved in providing social and emotional learning opportunities for specifically our Native American youth. And one thing that I just received this last week was that they just received another grant that's going to now allow them to increase that, or to bring that program now down to our K through 2. So K through 6, we will now be involved in the program. And it's also a partnership with CSKT, are part of the Project SELA. And so we're very excited. And it's they just got a research award, and they've got an award from the RISE Center. It's the Research for Indigenous Social Action and Equity Center. So a $15,000 grant that's going to allow them to begin bringing that down to our K2. It's been extremely successful in our 3-6, and you can talk to our principal and those 3 through 6 teachers, and they will let you know the impact that it's had. They come into our school, they observe our classrooms, they take over the classrooms and work on different projects, different social skills. And to bring this down to K2 is going to be terrific. We've been with them for the 3 years that I've been there, has been 3 through 6. And we're hoping that this will become a permanent part of our culture and our school. I think I brought up when I was here last time, just talking about the good things that are happening in our league. Obviously, last year we had the Teacher of the Year in Bill Stockton. One other program that we do, a lot of you are probably familiar with Gear Up. Looking at getting our students ready for post-high school opportunities. And so this year we were also notified that Deanne Smith, who is our Gear Up project coordinator, was named as the Montana Gear Up Professional of the Year. So again, I bring up that there's great things happening in our Lee schools. We have a bright future, and we're excited for all of the changes and the great things that are coming forward for us.
And on a side note to that, I just want to mention that Mike Perry was also named Superintendent of the Year and just got a national award. I just found out too that he was recognized nationally for that. So kudos.
Cool. That's pretty neat.
Thank you. It's always neat when you're recognized by your peers. That's always a good feeling.
Any other comments or questions? Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You stated your testing for your math. It's not just doing figures, there's a lot of reading in that. I know the university used to offer someone to come out and teach the teachers how to take those tests, how to teach to them, so the kids looked at the math questions and were able to use some of the information in that question that was written there to answer those questions, so the kids could get credit for their ability. And I didn't know if you had looked into any of that. You know, making sure that the teachers are given that are teaching, they're teaching how these tests are set up to evaluate their levels.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman Pitts, for the question. So again, our new principal that we have, our new 7 through 12 principal, math is his forte. And so he's kind of taken over the math curriculum, really K-12, to stand as a model for how to do it. As I said, we've hired a literacy consultant, and she has a partner, and they come in and they actually work in our classrooms with our teachers. They're able to stand there and observe our teachers give a lesson, and then they meet with them to talk about how they can better improve instruction for our students. Those consultants that we have know our issues. They've seen our scores. They know where we have fallen down. They know that math problems is one of them. They know that our other one that we've noticed that we're very low on in our league is the ability to read nonfiction text and derive information from it. And when I think about that as an issue, I think that that's probably our main issue, because how many of us in our employment or in our life outside of after we've left school, how many of us necessarily need to read nonfiction or read fiction text and understand them, right? That makes no impact on our life. But if we can't read our nonfiction text and make decisions and take the information out of there, that's where we have issues. I think about, take a voter's information pamphlet. I don't know the last time you've looked through those, but that's some pretty tough reading. And if we're not able to go in there and read what's actually coming forward from a possible bill and make decisions on that, that's impactful. And we've discovered that that's one of our low areas So that's one of our areas of concentration right now, is reading nonfiction text and be able to glean that information out of that text that we need. And so that's one of the areas that our consultants are working with us to make sure that we're able to bring nonfiction text in early and be able to get that information out, that our students are understanding what they're reading.
Jennifer?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I guess I would have to disagree that fiction doesn't matter when you're an adult. I think that those fiction, whatever you can do to get students interested in reading, that the joy of reading is what you want to instill in your students. Because then they learn syntax, they learn grammar. That's the best way to learn grammar, is to read a lot. And so if students are reading things that are not interesting, they're less likely to read. But if you introduce them to, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be whether it's a comic book or a graphic novel, anything, those are the kinds of things that instill joy in reading and entice people to keep reading and to become lifelong readers. Speaking as a former English teacher, I would say that.
And I apologize, that's not what I meant, Councilwoman Finley. To me, reading is life. If you come into my house, that's probably one of my problems, is books, and my wife will tell you that. And I didn't mean to have the impression that reading fiction is not important. What I was saying is that in our test scores, we don't struggle in our reading of fictional text and answering that like we do with the nonfiction. And so I know that in many cases, I've been in schools where there may be a young student that's struggling with reading, and they come in and say they have a magazine or a graphic novel. And I've seen teachers that have said, no, I don't want you reading that BMX magazine that, you know, tells stories about someone riding bikes or skateboards or whatever. I want you to read Charles Dickens. And I've seen many students' love for reading crushed by that because of a third grader who wants to read about the newest ATV and they don't want to read about Charles Dickens. And so it becomes a fight. And so all I'm saying is that in our league, we've noticed that where we struggle is reading nonfiction text, not in our fiction. So I apologize. I would never say that reading is not important. What I was saying is that it's vital for us to have the ability to read nonfiction text and get the information that we need out of that to make decisions. Not that reading was not important. I apologize. That's not what I meant in any way.
One question about Upward Bound. There's only 2 students that participated in Upward Bound.
Yeah, Upward Bound is one where the students have to elect to participate. I know, and I would have to look into that as to why we only have 2 students, because I know when I was in Hot Springs, we had a lot more students than that participating, and we had less than half the student enrollment. So I would have to ask questions as to why we only have 2 participating in Upward Bound.
Do you anticipate that there might be an opportunity for baseball as a sport?
We do. In our discussions, though, I think that, as most of you know, we co-op currently with Mission and Charlotte for softball. I've been in contact with those districts as well. In my opinion, that'd be the only way that we could probably have baseball as well. We just don't have the numbers to have a baseball team by ourselves, nor do we have the facilities in our league right now to host baseball.
Yeah, I think there was a rumor that Mission might be the lead in something in that regard.
We're hoping that Mission is going to lead and that we can jump in with.
Is that right, Tony? Okay.
You know, one of our concerns, and I know that all of you are up on that, but, you know, obviously in this legislative year, we're obviously concerned with a lot of the bills that are coming through and the impact that it's going to have on schools. So I spend a lot of time with my board And to let you know, we spend a lot of time as superintendents here in Lake County staying in touch and making sure that we're in touch with our legislators about some of the bills, but I'm sure that you've seen some of those bills, and a lot of them will do nothing but hurt schools and hurt students. And so I would urge, and I know you probably already are, but I would urge you to stay very active in what's going on and speak loudly. I know that sometimes I get in trouble for it. At the state level, some of our organizations feel like we should be accepting of amendments that make a bill a little more tolerable. And I guess I have the other opinion. I think that we should scream loud and hard. If they're going to pass something, then let's throw a fit about it anyway, instead of saying, fine, we know you're going to pass it, but can you give us these concessions? So I speak pretty loudly. I know that I get called out a little bit at the state level, but I'm here for kids. I'm advocating for kids. I'm not here to make deals. So I would encourage you to stay in touch with some of those bills that are going on, because some of them could be extremely harmful, and especially at our schools here.
Thank you for reminding us of that. If you could, pass information on to Miranda. She can get it to Jordan. And because we want to add to our testimony or our comments. We miss something. Sometimes we miss something, slips by, but yeah, we would want to be able to comment also. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Chairman.
Any other? No, go ahead, Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I was just, I appreciated you guys' effort to get the students back in the school system as quickly as you could during the pandemic, because I've often wondered how there's a lot of those households who didn't have computers. And I thought that had to be a real challenge. And then I thought there was kind of a challenge when Arlie went, and I don't know if you're still a 4-day, but that seems like comes a 3-day weekend, it's almost like a vacation. So it seems like Monday's almost kind of a chase them around, trying to get them back on task. So I've often thought that it was a mistake for schools to go to 4 days, especially when they schedule games Tuesdays and Thursday nights.
Thanks, Chairman Pitts, or sorry, Council Member Pitts. 4-day school week was new to me when I moved to Hot Springs, and so I've been around it for 8 years now. Academically, I haven't been that concerned, but I've been more concerned with the social and physical well-being of our students with the 4-day school week. I'm concerned about a lot of our students that I know have household food insecurity. And when we had them 5 days a week, at least we knew 5 days a week they were getting fed pretty well. And now it's 4 days a week, and I worry about our students in that other day. I know I've been getting a lot of phone calls about the 4-day school week from a lot of other schools that are contemplating it. And my first answer to them is, their first question is, people say it saves us money. No, it doesn't. 4-day school week doesn't save you any money. That's not a way to do it. And I would like to say that it gives us maybe a competitive edge with trying to find staff, but that's not true either. I'm discovering there's a few people that I think probably a few employees that like the idea of a 4-day week versus a 5-day week. But I think in our league, it's probably the smaller class sizes that brings them in more than the 4-day school week. And I'm sure that as a council, you've noticed, with hirings in any tribal position, it's the same as all of our schools are facing. It's every position that we're short. And, if it's a custodian or a bus driver, the 4-day school week doesn't really make a big difference to them. They're still working the same hours. So, again, academically, I can't say that I've seen a significant impact either way. But again, my worry is about what the kids losing contact with friends, and especially, in my opinion, the food insecurity is probably my biggest concern over having that 3-day weekend.
Any other comments? Well, thank you, Superintendent Perry, for coming in.
Thank
Presenting
you.
the
So
report.
I will work on those test scores. What would it be best to just get them to Miranda and then she can distribute?
That would be great.
Well, as soon as we have them ready and that comparison, we'll get them to you so you can get a better idea.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to accept the early report. Motion by Carol, second by Bing. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous. Thank you and congratulations to you and other staff for your accolades that you've gotten. Good job.
Thank you, council. Appreciate your support as always. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Miranda. Okay, Tony. That's correct.
Yeah, you can see it. Free test today, huh? Good morning, everybody. Thanks for the time. We're here to present an MOU with Lolo National Forest, setting CSKT as a cooperator status with Lolo National Forest, mainly to do help and aid and consult, coordinate, and cooperate with their land management plan that they're currently in the revision process of. Carolyn Upton, the Lolo Forest Supervisor, wanted to come up and talk a little bit about it today, and hopefully get approved for CSKT to sign a document to enter the agreement, and give a little bit of a background of kind of what we're going to do with this agreement and kind of their plan proceeding with their revision process.
Thank you, Tony. Carolyn, good to see you. You have to push the button. There you go. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. Chairman McDonald and members of the council. My name is Carolyn Upton. As Tony said, I am Forest Supervisor for the Lolo National Forest, and I brought a couple of staff members with me. I'd like to have them introduce themselves, as they will be visiting with Tony and his staff and the council as we work through this process. Gentlemen?
Good morning, council. My name is Justin Moschel. I am the Heritage Program Manager for the Lolo.
Good morning. My name is Jeremy Casterson. I'm the Deputy Forest Supervisor. Pleasure to meet you all.
Okay, I just wanted to check. The council, you have seen a copy of the memorandum of understanding that we are visiting about today? Okay, it's in the packet?
We do have it in our packet.
All right, couple things. We are just starting our revision of the Lolo's Land and Resource Management Plan. I've been in this position since right before the pandemic. So I was not here when we started. We had an effort to get this going at about 2006. And some of you may have been involved in that. Similarly, I was visiting with Tony. Some of you may have, or the staff here may have worked with the Kootenai National Forest or the Flathead National Forest on their plan revisions. And I do want to acknowledge that that work is out there, and anything that the council or the staff saw in those plans or those efforts that worked well, I absolutely want to identify some of that moving forward and make sure that we are building on any successes that we may have had in the past, as we move forward. So the memorandum of understanding that's been presented to you would identify some points of contact. It identifies some steps in the process. It identifies some potential issues as we move forward together. And I want to acknowledge that when we work with the staff here, we have several opportunities to talk about important issues to the Salish Kootenai tribes. We have several different ways to get your inputs and your concerns into our forest plan. there is a difference in my mind between government to government consultation and some of our working groups and committees that we're going to form. And I want to acknowledge that right up front. As we move forward, government to government consultation, we'll be working with both Tony and the staff and the council and the chairman as you see appropriate. As you need, we will be there and willing to work and come together around those issues. At the same time, we are also going to have, this is not in the MOU, but I wanted to share this. We're going to put together an intergovernmental working group. Okay, that's government representatives that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. It's Fish, Wildlife and Parks, Fish and Wildlife Service, Department of Natural Resource Conservation, our counties. And that's just a way to come together and talk timely about issues across several of our government agencies. It's not government to government consultation with the tribes, but it is an opportunity to hear your issues and to have staff from CSKT listen to other important things that are going to be coming up that we're going to have to deal with in our plan. So we have this group, if you will, called there's an acronym, the IGWIG, the Intergovernmental Working Group. We are going to invite the tribe to send a representative to that. But again, I wanted to acknowledge that that's not government to government consultation. That's simply a working forum for us to work through issues. Tony and his staff are working on a plan. I don't know what you call it, forest plan? They're working on a forest management plan. We are very interested in learning everything we can from them to bring it into our plan. We're going to have the same issues to deal with. Forestry, fuels, wildlife, fish, water, different uses of the land. So we're very interested in any successes and any lessons learned from that we can get from you. We'll be asking. So with that, I just wanted to share some of that. I also wanted to acknowledge Chairman McDonald. You made a speech yesterday in the state capitol, and I was reading about it in the Missoulian this morning, and you acknowledged the importance of collaboration in your speech. And how timely for me to be reading that this morning as I'm eating my breakfast. Really wanted to thank you for it, and for that. And you also mentioned the importance of several issues important to the tribe: economics, education, natural resource management, and wrapping these all together in meaningful collaboration. That's why we're here. So thank you for that. And do you have any questions for me?
Just one thing, and I'm so glad that he's here attending the meeting. Many times we rely, of course, on the ability of every agency to do their trust responsibility. But our fallback or, agency that we rely on so heavily is the Bureau of Indian Affairs, in making sure and helping us work with other agencies. And so Shane, being our new superintendent, I've asked him to make sure that he stays on top of any of our Aboriginal rights in the federal landscape and other sister agencies to kind of stay on top of that, participate as he sees fit to protect our trust resources and our those obligations. So Shane, thank you for attending this morning. So whatever you have going on, please try to include Shane in the consultation and meetings and those kind of things. So just my overall general statement, that the unbelievable growth of population here in Western Montana, particularly your forest and the Flathead National Forest, well, Bitterroot National Forest. It's incredible. It's incredible, the pressure from recreation, urban interface issues with forest planning and, fire suppression, all those resources that are being, sought after and in demand for people moving here. It's just that overlay on top of protecting our Aboriginal rights, our rights to gather and hunt and fish, We want to maintain what we have today and actually restore some of those things that have been lost, be able to access those landscapes that we've been severed from, to empower our culture and our people and sense of place, self-esteem. You know, I can go on and on about that. But so in your forest planning, please keep that on the forefront. That it's a critical element for us is to maintain our access and improve our access to the forest. And that's a paramount need for us. So just thank you for that ahead of time. I'm sure you'll work on it hard as your forest planning team, Justin, Jeremy, you know, as you work forward. But that's just my general statement. Any other comments from council? Thank you. Go ahead.
If not, I'll just quickly kind of go over how we set this up. You know, it is a MOU, not with forestry, it's a MOU with the tribe. The main point of contact may be me to lead the discussion and lead the efforts, but really it would be with me and Katie McDonald at a preservation office. As Chairman explained or noted, it is our Aboriginal territory, and we wanted to make sure that we have a cultural representative onto this forest management plan, and she will be in contact, especially with Lolo specialists in that field. Our wildlife specialists will be in contact with their wildlife specialists. What this entails is able to have a staff-to-staff communication and relationship more formally, I guess. We already do have a great working relationship with Lolo on many aspects and many fronts, but this puts us into for their planning efforts and their that they have to follow. It puts us into a nice formal agreement to be able to participate and make sure that tribes' issues, concerns, and treaty rights are protected during their planning efforts.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Caroline. I would entertain a motion. Motion by Jennifer to approve the MOU with the Lolo National Forest for development of forest management plan revision. Second by Jimmy. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman, and look forward to meeting with the council again soon.
Absolutely. As often as you want. You know what we really like is field trips. So
Do that.
we do. I mean, no, I mean, really, it's, you know, we learn so much by experiencing things and revisiting the landscape and how we can plan to do that for all our people. You know, getting on the ground is really important. And there's so many places in your forest that are so important for us. So yeah, it'd be great to have.
All right, we'll get planning on a few field trips.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will take a quick break. I know there might be something over here. Treat or two? Yep. Sure. Well, whatever, you just give it to me, or you want
Okay.
everybody else?
There's 8 resolutions instead of 7.
Climate change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the letter it said 7. And the other thing is, I'm wondering why we don't blow our horn as a tribe more about all the money that we spend for tuition and, you know, all of the staff that we send to that college to get their education, like ECS, NRG, forestry. You can go down the line and I bet you we spend lots of money over there. And I think we should use that as kind of a stick to say, come on, you know, you're doing a good job for us, but we expect more. And maybe that's not necessary. Maybe they already know that, but I don't know if the board.
No. Thanks, everybody, for the reporting on the legislative issues. Jordan presented to us a grant request for the First Nations Institute for a food sovereignty grant for the 2023 funding year. Motion by Jennifer to approve the application. Second by Bing. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, show of hands. Martin? Okay, unanimous. Yeah, we're looking forward to the soup. That's right.
All right, thank you, council.
Go ahead, Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jordan, what restrictions or how do you plan to utilize this funding from this grant? I know we're trying to, we're planning at Dixon to put a garden in. It'd be nice to have some funding to help us to put a root cellar in for storage. We also could use a freezer upright and a fridge in a Anita Map building, which we don't have. So I don't know how we could request or who we discuss this with.
Yeah, Councilman Pitts, that's a good question. And that's something I believe we would very much like to work with you on. This is a grant for the different things we discussed, which do include food preparation and maybe some storage costs, but we have a variety of funding sources that we might be able to help with the Dixon Agency, Anita Map building, and also garden. And so let's talk and bring Dana into the conversation because we want to support our tribal food sovereignty infrastructure. And so that's part of it. So I think we could probably figure out a way to support some of those projects.
Thank you, Jordan. We'll talk later.
Okay.
Bing?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Say, Jordan, at a district meeting last night, we had a question from Shelley about the gardens that the gentleman was talking about here a week ago or so. She wanted to know if they were going to put them in up there, but the only problem she didn't have, really had was a problem with not getting water to the gardens. So I don't know where they're planning on putting a garden up there in Arlee, but she was kind of wondering about the water situation.
That's interesting. I know some of those gardens are going on tribal properties and others aren't. And I'm not sure about the Arlee one, but if that's going to be on a tribal property, we should look into that. So I can touch base with Dana and Shelley and try to do some follow up on that one. If that sounds good, Councilman Matt.
Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I got a couple questions, Jordan. I'm wondering, are you getting tooled up to harvest bitterroot and camas this year?
Yep, that's the hope. We certainly want to talk with the different departments that are doing a lot of that work, like the culture committees, but our hope is to really do some field trips out to go do some traditional digging and harvesting. Yep.
And then my other question was on the line of Terry's, the garden that is being planned in Hot Springs is going to be in town next to the senior center, the Indian Senior Center. Are they planning on having the senior center just open for folks working in that garden? Because that's not really a good idea.
You know, some of the gardens are tribal and some of them are non-tribal. And so I just need to get a better grasp of what gardens are which and how that's going to interact with our tribal garden network and our tribal buildings. So yeah, I'll try to get a better handle on that. And maybe we can come back with our food sovereignty team and have a deeper conversation about that and how that'll look.
Any other questions for Jordan? Alrighty. Soup's on, huh, Jordan?
Yeah, starting in March. I'm excited.
Okay, well, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. That was our last agenda item. Carol, did you finish your review then? Okay, just those comments. A couple of comments I'll work on from Carol, just one edit and then one general statement about the amount of staff and that goes to the college and how that relationship has been important. It's been financially supported by the tribes and how we want to emphasize that. So there is any others, we'll wait for, Jennifer's comments, and then by the end of the day, I'll send something off. Jim?
Mr. Chairman, when you have time, I'd like to discuss the issue.
Sure. Well, we got a little bit of time right now.
I have Brad.
Oh, okay. Okay. Go ahead, Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and council members. I guess there's a concern over the amount of money we're spending on treats. My attitude is, so what? You know, Mr. Chairman, what I do is I try to make sure that when I make purchases for the council, that I try to balance them out so that there is not an excessive amount of expenditures. In order to do that, sometimes I'll pay for some of it, you know, just to balance it out. But what we had before was each council member would contribute 20 bucks, either a pay period or every other pay period. So that during that month, and then it would include myself and Abby. So we would have 240 bucks there. And when we had 2 meetings a week, regularly scheduled, that was enough. And when we didn't have a meeting, that just gave me a balance. I mean, it gave me a little extra there that I would use for the next meeting. But I never did go in the hole. There were some members that would forget to pay, and I just covered that until they were able to come up with the money. You know, you guys aren't rich, and nobody is, but I would like to have a proposal from the council. If you guys want to discuss it amongst yourselves, I'd like to be able to start it soon, and I will continue to make contributions as well. But you know, $240 a pay period is a lot of money. Unless, like, if I cut back on things, it will show. And the most pleasant part of doing my job is to be able to buy birthday cakes and have you guys sing birthday songs. But either way, I just wanted to bring that up because apparently it was an issue. They wanted to cut it back to $200. Is that a month? That ain't gonna work unless you want stale donuts.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, it was exceeding our budgeted amount, is the issue. So, we could bring it up at the chairs meeting and we'll talk about it the first hour.
Mr. Chairman, if I can make a suggestion, you know, I had a spreadsheet ready and I gave out receipts whenever I got cash and all that. I kept really good track of it. If you decide to go with that $20, I'll do the same thing. I'll do a spreadsheet, and then now that I'm on the system, I can email it to each one of you. Or I personally think, and this is just Jim's feelings, that you just need to raise your budget for your snacks. You guys deserve it. I've seen you spend hours in here with nothing to nibble on, and that keeps your strength up. I'm serious about that. I would just suggest that you just adjust your budget, amend your budget, bring it up, and then I'll just keep track of it. Right, anyway. You know, it may not seem very important, but it is to me, so.
Thank you, Jim. Sometimes the little things are very important. They really are. Thank you. Brad, come on up. Okay, we're ahead of schedule. Huh?
Yeah,
I think my horoscope said that too.
I wish it was a easy day for me, but this part's easy. So the volunteer fire departments are requesting to do ice rescue training up at Turtle Lake. And I've been told to come in here and talk to you guys about it. So that's what they're requesting. So I'm also on the volunteer fire department for Ronan. So just coming to ask you guys if that's all right, if we do that. Huh? Oh, it was scheduled for the 25th, which is this Saturday.
So a one-day event at Turtle Lake
Yep.
for all the volunteer fire departments that want to participate in
Yeah.
ice rescue training for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Would they be working just out of the Turtle Lake Tribal Park there on the
Yeah,
south side?
You got that map, like, okay. So I did submit a map with the location. So, it's just part of, wait until the map comes up, so.
Okay.
I don't. Huh? Okay. So in the white box there, that's where they're gonna be doing the ice rescue training. The parking is also gonna be down there. If that's all right with council.
Oh, yeah, that's not the park, that's another spot.
Because that's where they've had it, previous years. I think it was 2 years ago. When Brent did it.
The last time we had an ice training event, where there was an issue, Brad,
Yeah.
was that they didn't, reconstitute the oversized holes.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the variants in the request is to exceed the, ice hole
Yeah.
diameter
Mm-hmm.
or square inches. And because you want to build it big enough to get a person in and out.
Yeah.
So, that was a requirement of the last one we approved or council approved was to, if they're gonna cut out a refrigerator size opening in the ice, that they need to,
Put it back.
put it back.
Yeah.
Or fence it off until it refreezes.
Okay. Yeah,
That was
they
the-
can do that. So,
It was a liability issue. That's why the holes are so small,
yeah,
so a person can't fall through.
yeah.
Any questions from council? I would entertain a motion to approve the one-day ice training event for the
25th,
25th
Saturday.
at Turtle Lake. Motion by Jimmy. Second by Ellie. All those in favor? I think it's unanimous.
All right. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brad. Alrighty, we'll break early. Be back early. No. Be back at 1-ish. Run promptly. Promptly. Enjoy the calm before the storm. Sounds like it. Not me. What is me? Oh, my mic thing came off. I bumped it.